Welcome to the Feel Good Lab podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Gresh. Join me as we bring together the brightest minds in health and wellness, covering topics from sleep and nutrition to exercise and mindfulness. Our goal is to give you actionable advice to optimize your health and ultimately to feel good. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Feel Good Lab podcast, and this is season 2, episode 1, with a guy I've been following for quite a long time. So I'm pretty pumped to have David Lemanczyk, who I'm going to call Coach on this because that's kind of how I look at you. And I'd love for you to give our audience just a quick intro to who you are and what you're up to.
Thank you very much for having me on. What an honor. Coach Lemanczyk. I'm a retired professional basketball player, 18-year career teacher, and a basketball strength developer. It's a program I developed after playing professional basketball to improve the biomechanic training for basketball players. We have a lot of great training early on in early childhood development, movement series applications, and then all of a sudden, it seems like there's a big wave into a weight room, and we forget about the movement series. So when I got done playing, I said, we need something for that middle ground, and then let's connect it later on too to remind everybody to get back to movement and still do everything along the way. So basketball strength gave me a way to kind of give back to what gave to me so much, which the game of basketball has always been.
Love it. And that's kind of one of the reasons I follow you. I'm a passionate basketball fan. In fact, UConn alum, we got a big game tonight at 9 o'clock against Kansas, so go Huskies.
Big win.
But you bring a couple things together. You know, I've been following knees over toes guy. I'm dealing with some injuries myself. And so you brought these worlds of wellness, mobility, recovery, and basketball together, which I thought was so cool. And I want to get to all that stuff. But I think another really unique piece of perspective you can add is, if you don't mind shedding some light on, you had some chronic pain issues you struggle with. And so us as a brand, that's what we're all about, is helping people optimize their wellness and live these healthy lives. But we have a quote that we say, I've said it on probably every podcast: a rich man wants 10,000 things, but a sick man only wants one. And when you're in chronic pain, you're not thinking about hitting the next jumper or getting out and working on your mobility, right? So maybe you could shed some light on that story.
I think the one thing we're looking for right there, and I'll segue, it's health. That's what we're looking for. And so I had a really good run at health when I was younger, and worked really hard and played college and pro and trained after that and kept myself in shape and trained thousands of athletes. And all of a sudden, one day I found myself in dire straits. I had gotten into a car accident, and it was unplanned, and I got hit from behind. And then in an instant, my health went from elite professional athlete to, you're going to need several surgeries. You're going to have spinal reconstruction, 9 hours, and you're going to be on some heavy opiate medicine. You're going to have to deal with that too. And you're going to have to put your life back together. You're going to have to push pause on everything, go on disability, and you're going to have to just really meet God, and you're really going to have to meet yourself, and then you're really going to have to reprogram everything, and let's see what you got, coach. All right, let's see what you got. So what I did is I went back into everything that I taught others in terms of the meditation, in terms of what I call the PEP program. It's a way you speak to yourself, positively phrased, emotion-provoking, personal, and present tense, so that when we're speaking to ourselves, the subconscious can respond, and then we can consciously act that out. So the PEP program is a very, very big part of how I was able to reconnect with that holistic healing application of thoughts first, connect the thoughts to the spirit, and then once the spirit aligns to those thoughts, just keep this going back and forth, because for a while I couldn't move. It was, 6 months in bed. It was just, you're not moving. So you're there to think, you're there to breathe, you're there to focus. So what I did is I saw every movement that I would make in the future in my mind before I ever took a step, before I ever took a rep, before I went anywhere. I saw it in my mind. And then when I was able to begin the rehabilitation process, I used water for a majority of it, because I knew that the low impact, low gravity healing aspect of the water is exactly what I needed, because anything on land, it just seemed like too much. And I know a lot of athletes listening will be able to identify. seems like we'll have a chronic injury or an acute injury, pardon me, and they'll want us back right away.
Yep.
And that's very difficult sometimes because healing doesn't always take place at the same rate of the how you say expected return, right? It's
Yeah.
like, well, it might take a little longer. But anyhow, to cut it and go right to it, I used the water. I was very consistent. I looked at the day instead of 24 hours. I looked at it as I'm going to pray, breathe, train, eat, stretch, recover, sleep, and when I wake up, the day starts again. So for me, it was like 6, 7 hours, repeat, 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 repeat. Let's fast forward. So 2016, I had the reconstruction surgery, hit a major milestone in the summer of 2020. I ran 23 half marathons and 3 marathons.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm like, it's time to go. I feel like I'm ready. I did a lot of swimming the summer before that, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of the ocean right here in Long Beach. And then I said, okay, I'm ready to jog a little bit. Then I picked up a Nordic Track ski machine, the original one. No impact, just slides. So what I started doing, because it has a little odometer on it, 2 hour workouts that were 26.976 miles. So I looked at it, I'm like, wait, that's like a marathon. Then I started doing a marathon in the morning and a marathon at night. And I did that for 384 days in a row. It was
Didn't miss a day?
absolutely insane stretch.
Wow.
Because most of the time I'm waking up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's something that's been built into me since college. Because our coach would say, you're up at 4:30, you're running at 5. Then when I became a father, all of a sudden I'm waking up at all times. And now I'm not. I'm stuck in worlds where I'm still waking up and I'm like, well, I might as well work out. So I get on this thing. It's nice and easy. It's 2 hours. My heart and lungs really work so well now. And I'm 46. And the injuries that I had have been rehabilitated using water, a piece of equipment that some people consider obsolete, that I consider elite, and a training program that I help other people to use that is really nothing more than a way to master your body through locomotion and biomechanic tweaks. So a lot of the things, it's instead of buying equipment and up costs in that direction, it's more elevating this direction and learning how to move and learning how to heal and modalities that you have, learning how to apply them, learning why, how, where, when. And once those questions are answered and we have that, then we have a finer understanding of how we can heal and go forward with the things that we need to
Well,
do.
the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you're 46 years old, like you said. You probably have more than a 40-inch vert still. At least that's what it looks like online, which is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, some days. I mean, there were a couple days last month where I was like, this feels like 1998 because I'm still pretty heavy right now. I'm like 231, 232, but I had my head probably, I think, like 4 or 5 inches away a couple of those days. And I was like, wow, I am so thankful to be in this situation right now.
When would you say your prime was? When you were playing in college, athletically?
Probably after when I decided to stop playing basketball in 2001. At that point, I had my eyebrows rim
All
level, and
right.
it was so much fun just to get up and down and do that. And but I didn't think I would ever return there. But all of a sudden, this is what happens. I'll walk in a gym, and if I look at a rim, I'm like, is that 8 feet? They're all 10 feet, but I'll look at it, I'll be like, it's 8 feet. And then I'll just jump up, throw it through, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm still here.
I mean, it's an
It's so amazing.
inspiration to me because I'm 36 and I feel like, I was a late bloomer. I was the kid in high school, played basketball. I was the kid the crowd would chant to put in the game, you know. And
Yes.
then I went to college and I went from not even being able to touch the net to being able to hang on the rim. And that was just like from me maturing. And then I was
That's
so
incredible.
obsessed that I played every single day. I didn't even go to class. I played every day for 4 years. So then I'd go back to the alumni games and I'd be just as good, if not better, than a lot of my buddies that were the starters in all conference and whatnot because they peaked in high school. They would play intramurals once a month, right?
Yes. Rate of development is such a key. it's such a key. A lot of the things that I work on with the IG page, Coach Lemanczyk, is I was coached by Bruce Webster, who gave me one piece of paper that had like 45 moves on it. Do these moves. They were all in a sequence. If I did the moves when I got in the game, I would be able to play my spot in his system based on the fact that when defense comes, helps, rotates, the whole thing happens. Those are the moves that you can use. Can't do anything else. So the guy just technically knew what to do. I trusted him. I did it. Then I realized, oh, wow, I'm basically working by myself all the time. And people are looking at me like, what is he doing? But then after like 10, 15, 20,000 reps, it doesn't matter who's in front of me. It's the same move. If you're there, pardon me, you're not going to want to be there. I'm going to be going into you in some direction, and 230, 240 pounds, explosive and dense hurts. So people learn quick, Olay, they get out of the way. And most of those Bruce moves were like 2 dribbles or less. And you know, for effective play, that's kind of where it goes. Catch, and if it's not a quick shot, it's whoop, let's go. One and shot, pass, or another, and same, and that's it. Defense is there. So I was just very fortunate to have a very nice coach who was a great skilled technician and tactician. And I feel like part of me giving into that IG is just sharing drill by drill, move by move. And a lot of the community really gets it. They're like, wow, that's a great move. I could see how you could use this here. I could see how you could use it there. And if you didn't dunk, you could use a hook shot. You could use a baby hook, a fadeaway. And I'm like, yes.
But what's funny is you're not built like a traditional basketball player. You're built like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, so I played a lot of football, and I was a really good wrestler. Like, my thing is I'm a naturally great wrestler. I played basketball because I was dunking in like 8th grade, not, just jump up, boom, 5'7", 5'8". Like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. But I was really a football player. I did some really stupid stuff my senior year. I got kicked off my team. I'm not even going to tell you what I did. But it's a classic story for maybe another podcast. But this one was a story that's told every year. And I'll just tell you that it was a very good thing that I made those bad decisions and went to the other direction, because I think football for me wouldn't have been as safe, and it was better that I went to basketball because I met great people.
Yeah. You say you played
And it was
18
almost
years
like,
professional?
no, teach
You
18
teach 18
years.
years.
Yeah, so I came out of college and I signed a 2-year deal. Well, let's back up. All of a sudden, my coach comes up to me. He's like, guess what, champ? I'm like, what? He's like, the Knicks called today. I'm like, ha, good one. So I walk away. He's like, no, you might get drafted. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, start working out. I'm like, I'm always working out. But I was like, that caught me, really? And he's like, yeah, it might happen. I'm like, So I just started playing, kept playing, got in shape, and all of a sudden found myself in Europe. And all of a sudden they're like, do you want to play another year? And I'm like, I'll think about it. Same club. Do you want to play pro beach volleyball? I'm like, I'll think about it. Season ends. I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'll let you guys know. Right? So we go home. Then I have a really great opportunity to go back, do one of those two things. And then all of a sudden I get another really good opportunity to start finally making some money and go to France. So I'm sitting in the Jersey Shore hanging out, literally smoking a cigar, feet up, just pondering life. I'm like, what am I going to do here? And I started thinking about all the families that I met in Europe, the American families, different countries. And I'm like, It seemed like the players, for the most part, were happy because they were pursuing their dreams. It seemed, for the most part, the younger children were kind of enjoying the ride because they were still young and maybe naive. But when I started to look at the adolescent and the teens, and then I started to look at some of the partners, the wives, I'm like, they really weren't that happy. So I started thinking, like, maybe I should make a move early and kind of plan different, and at the same time contribute. Because what I learned in my journey, and the bottom line, is that I always wanted to be a pro as an aspiration. I worked towards it, I earned it, and then when I got there, I'm like, this is amazing. I respect this so much, but I'm more valuable somewhere else. I can help so many more people in other ways. So I truly appreciated the opportunity to be there and even continue. But I was like, no, I'm worth more helping in a more direct kind of way. and then still working with people on that level to help them in their field of play.
Love that. And our whole goal here with this podcast is to help, give our audience actionable things that they can do. They don't need to be even an athlete, let alone an elite basketball player. And that's kind of cool. You bridge those gaps. So, I have a trainer I work with. He's helping me rehab for my knee. He's big into knees over toes guy. I sent him your stuff. He's like, this is right up my alley. I said, what do you have? You have a
Yeah.
couple questions that I could ask? And he said, number one, he said, ask him what his non-negotiables are with training. What are those
Ah,
things that like you just really need to make sure that obviously there's no one size fits all model, but for
I
most
have three
people,
things.
you got three things.
Yeah, the first thing I do is I prevent injuries by optimizing range of motion. We got to do that right away. So before any resistance is added, before anything is like an exercise, we have to just look at ranges of motion in joints and just take an honest evaluation. Then at that point, we're going to stay there for as long as that takes. So we're going to optimize ranges of motion, which is going to prevent injuries. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create muscular balance and make sure that alignment is exactly where it needs to be. A lot of times, we don't come into this world of adult, how you say, like conscious, holistic strength applications without going through a process. And a lot of the process might be doing exercises that are causing us undue stress. So what we might have to do is back off certain things in order for the alignment to take place, because that alignment and that balance is essentially what we need, in my estimation, for that second stage, right? And after we achieve that balance and after we achieve that alignment, performance. That's where the jazz is. And a lot of people go right to the jazz. And that's what a lot of folks want to see. They want to see the end result. I get it. I love it. But we have to really work with ranges of motion, prevent the injuries, get the balance, get the alignment, and then go to performance. So I think those three things have kind of always been my non-negotiables. And in terms of what's the application for the ranges of motion, it's going to be the safest, most least restrictive motions possible, so that people are confident in their ability to move and also able to replicate it without me being there. Those moments where they can teach themselves and then understand the next incremental aspect of progress that they can add to whatever it is that we were doing.
Yeah, that's huge. I know for me, every time I go see him, he's like, what did you do this week? Because he's like, you're not going to make the progress seeing me once a week. If you don't put the work in on your own, it's not going to happen. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
true. And so this has been, getting, introduced in person to you just a couple of days ago. And shout out to David Salinas for making that introduction. What a great guy. And
Dave's the
he's
best.
the best. And it just kind of motivated me seeing one, your age, your athletic ability, and to say like, okay, you know what? I just got this little injury. Yeah, it's been 9 months here nagging me, but I can get through this and I could get back to being in great shape. Like there's nothing, if you can do it at 46, I sure as hell can do it at 36. I promise you that.
100%. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions. We'll just start with one. So we're talking about the knee, right? So I had two surgeries on my knee, and one was from that accident. It was pretty, it was pretty gnarly little thing. And my recovery, a lot like your recovery, has, and this is going to sound bizarro, but less to do with the knee and more with some of the soft tissues that are in a tug of war with the knee.
So I know what my
It's
issue is, and it's not my knee; it's my hips
it's
and my ankles. My ankles aren't great because I always used to wear braces, some sprains, but my hips are brutal. And
so let's
yeah,
talk about it. Is your sacrum coming forward? Is it coming back? Is that what is it?
well, I have awful posture issues, and so
Okay.
my hips are always, I don't know what the right terminology is. You would know better than I, but like if I do a
Yeah, your
squat,
sacrum
you know,
is forward.
boom,
Yeah.
they
Mm.
can't stay in that position, and so they're pulling on my IT band, which is rubbing on the side of my knee.
Mm. Now I
But
understand
the
completely.
pain is unbearable, and it's like when my knee is at a when it's bent, there's basically a point where I lose all strength and I kind of just fall. So it's fine when I'm standing, it's fine when I'm fully squatted, but when I go over that spot where the IT band rubs, it's like the knee just gives out. And
Oscar.
well, I used to have that when I was a kid, so it could be related.
That's it. That's the first thing. I mean, brother, over the past, I'm getting older, sir. I just realized it's been longer than I believed it was. For the last 26 years, me working with people, I've probably worked with at least 4 or 5 a year that have similar things. And can I share a couple things
Please,
with you that might help?
please.
Warm stuff always helps. So warming foods, um, things that cool tend to be aggravating for some reason. Just warm foods, you know. From there, any overload to the quadriceps seems to be something that sets off symptoms. But if you strengthen the hips and if you strengthen the glutes through activation exercises, then basic movements can have less of a tug of war there and more of an activation in the hip and glute region. I don't know if that makes any
No, it
sense. Does
it
it?
does.
It becomes a neuromuscular efficiency thing where you have to reteach the brain to work with muscles to pull joints into play as opposed to us just doing what we want to do.
Yeah, because what I wanted to go do is do some box jumps and start jumping again, and like, and even some squats. And I go work, with my physical therapist. He's like, squats, like we haven't touched a weight in months. It's a lot of mobility
Wow.
stuff. We do some split squats and stuff like that, holding maybe 5 pound dumbbells, but it's really about being able to get through the range of motion without pain. And until we can do that, right?
Yeah. When you I think, do you have access to a pool?
Um, Not in the winter, but I could.
So what I like to do in any kind of like, if I get into a pool, optimal for me is 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
3 feet's like a dream, but four is the standard. So you get a 4 foot pool and you just put yourself through a workout. You do the squats. You put your hands on the side of the pool. You're gonna have to actually force yourself down to the squat because you might not actually go down after a while. But then you could start jumping. You could start pushing laterally and sliding. It's almost like if you think, I don't even know what it's called. Hockey players use it. It's like a track and they'll
Yeah, I know what you're
slide.
talking about. Wasn't that
Yeah,
like a
so you do that.
1980s exercise, like Richard Simmons type thing?
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's all explosive dynamic hip work. And what it does is it activates the hip abductors and the entire glute muscle group. And it also encourages that internal hip rotation, which you need so much for the weight transfer and the biomechanic draw for power right there. I mean, let's face it, as soon as we turn and pivot, the transverse plane comes in. And if we can throw more power in there, right there and then, that's our velocity going right there.
So what's your
So I like it
background? It
in the
seems
pool.
like you understand biomechanics quite well, but then and don't take offense to this, just at first glance, you look like a guy that just picks up heavy objects. You know what I mean? So how the hell did this whole thing come together?
Thank you. I grew up reading a
Yeah.
lot, and yeah, I was encouraged by my mama, who was a very academic type, and I was reading books and having discussions and not really watching TV and not really into the things that maybe would draw adolescence. I was kind of somewhere else. I was meditating, was doing different things, journeying. And then as I got older, I started to realize, like, wow, there's so much to know. I don't know, like, how I'm going to possibly get to all this stuff. So let's just go, what am I interested in? I'm interested in finding ways to be creative, have fun, elevate this suit that I have, and try to figure out how to reprogram it. So it's like I do when I teach the kids. We do heart rate evaluations and stuff, and especially in practice, just to make sure they really are where they are. You're breaking a sweat, fine, but show me your heart rate. And I say, like, what are we really measuring here? And they're like, we're measuring hertz. I said, you're right. But what's hertz a measurement of? And they're looking it up. They're like, frequency. And I'm like, and there you have it, folks. That is exactly what we are. So at our bottom line, we're a frequency. and each one of us has a job to uphold ours. We're unique. So once I figured that out, basically at the age of 12, I basically just created that space. And now at the age of 46, for a living, I teach and share that space. And most of what I do as a teacher is share conscious thought meditation, teach people how to face exactly what it is they're avoiding so that they can finally achieve peace and happiness in their life. A couple ways to do that. When the mind starts racing, move your body. When the body gets tired, think. Just witness thoughts pass. Just watch them pass like leaves in a river. And if the mind is going wild and the body is sore and you can't do anything, breathe and count. Breathing and counting disengages our ability to think. So if we breathe into 4 and count 1, 2, 3, 4, we are unable to think about anything else. It's amazing. It's like the shut off button when our mind goes wild.
So then I take it back, right? I'm talking about lifting heavy objects here. You are talking about meditation and mindfulness.
I forgot about the heavy aspects. So for a long time, I grew up chopping wood and sawing wood. My grandpa, he was a great man, Lawrence Lemanczyk from upstate New York, taught me early on that chopping wood and sawing wood and sanding wood and cleaning and actually taking pride in those things was not only a form of training, but it was a way to teach me etiquette, and it was a way to share his character with me. So my original weight room was more of a workman's room. And what I was able to learn was the type of effort that I needed to put into a weight room or into a practice or into an effort in academics or even into a spiritual meditation, just to kind of hunker down and let things go, right? But that lesson, wow, I'm just so fortunate to be able to have him as a mentor and to be able to experience and just to share some of what he imparted on me. And certainly looking at me, it's not what people would expect. What I always say is someone's idea of me is radically different than who I actually am. And once you meet me, and certainly the people that hear and see, they're going to be like, oh, wow. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it's supposed to be, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything. Even if you think you know somebody, you still don't. And it's like, it's so easy in
Right.
today's day and age to have a social media type perception of people. um, and that's kind of why I love that we were able to connect and I get to know your story a little bit more. So in the, in the light of trying to help people in our audience, there's the physical piece. Seems like you've got that down. You've got the mental piece. When you think of wellness and health, what are some of the other things you even mentioned for me with my knee recovery about certain foods? Like, how do you look at nutrition? How do you look at those other aspects, and how do you implement them?
I look at it, our body has a code, and the code is in our genetics. The foods that we eat, they have to match the code. So if we match them, our body can use them, identify them through the digestive process, and then disperse nutrients as needed. When we're eating food products and we're putting, let's just call them items, on our skin that our body doesn't recognize, we automatically cause this differentiation filtration process where our body's now confused and it has to set off this almost chain reaction because we've introduced free radicals into the body and it's just trying to figure out what to do. We know that free radicals cause tremendous amounts of chemical disruption inside the organic chemistry, right? And those are the little bad doers that we want to get rid
Yep.
of. So I think that in terms of our input, it's matching code. It's making sure that the foods are exactly what they purport to be, because I know there's a lot of, well, labeling mismanagement and dishonesty. Let's just call it what it is. And I think finding vendors that are truthful and stand by their products and actually have what they say they have at this day and age is not only decent, but it's literally 5 stars top of the pile because it's a rarity now. because everyone wants to say, for example, plant-based. This is the term that is in vogue, right? But because it's plant-based, does that really mean it's plant-based? No, it's just the selling point. Also, it could really mean it's plant-based, but they've found ways in the vernacular to confuse the end user.
Absolutely.
So I guess me as the coach and you as the holistic facilitator have to find ways to do what is seemingly impossible, which could be this. It's very difficult to convince somebody of a true thing when the first thing they were convinced what was true actually was false. It's a thing. And for some reason, the marketing behind false things is so appealing that it will draw people in, of course, deeply rooted to psychology, and that's exactly why those routes are taken. But what we do in terms of honest and just match the coding for your body is it's the turtle in the hair race.
Totally. And yeah, my dad spent his whole life on this. So he's a pharmacist and a functional medicine
Yeah,
practitioner. And, you know, one of the things he's been doing a lot of research in the past decade on is what he calls nutrigenomics. So it's understanding our genetics and what we can learn from it in order to give everybody the optimal solution for them. There is no one size fits all model. But here's kind of what's crazy, right? So at the Feel Good Lab, and I can't wait to send you some product for you to try yourself. So what most of our customers come to us is because they think we have a silver bullet. You have this natural pain cream or whatever the product might be, and you can help solve my pain. Well, we have this saying here. It's called fight pain with wellness. I envision a world.
right.
I want the Feel Good Lab to be the best pain relief company in the world. I want to do that someday without products. Because if you live, if you're living your life where you're eating healthy, you're moving, you have relationships, you're sleeping, our bodies are designed to deal with these things by themselves. And you won't need not only just our pain cream, but you won't even need our supplements and some of the other more wellness focused products we have, right? You don't need those things. We are so far away from that in today's society. So our mission is to almost use this like a Trojan horse, right? They come to us because they want our natural pain cream. Now it's our job to educate them on how they can reduce free radicals, reduce inflammation, improve these different aspects of their sleep, really the functional medicine philosophy. And then we also have,
Yes.
you know, testing we do, food inflammation testing, so they can understand what in their own personal body, what is your immune system reacting to? Because you might have healthy foods that for you are not healthy. And it's really important to just figure out what works for you and then figure out how you can live a life that's as simple as possible and not need all these other products and not need all of these different things, right? And that's kind of what our mission is here. And I love that it seems like it's very aligned with what you do.
My God, definitely is. And I just wanted to ask you a question about the inflammation test, because I know a lot of listeners have heard a lot of things in recent times about gut health
Mm-hmm.
and how that's a predecessor for just about everything else in our body. And how do you, so all of a sudden I'm listening to this, I'm like, wow, gut inflammation test. So what's
Yeah,
that all
so
about?
it's really cool because it's again everything we do comes from our pharmacy that my dad and brother, who are both pharmacists, have been working with patients on for over a decade. So we just take it out to the
Mm,
world. We take the best and the best innovations they have and bring them out through the brand. And so this food inflammation test. So a lot of people are familiar with food sensitivity testing. What that is it's basically
yes,
saying, okay, does your immune system respond to different foods? The problem with that is it doesn't give us the whole picture. So it's good data, but it looks at an IgG,
right,
immunoglobulin G response. And that's not necessarily telling us how detrimental that is to your health. What the inflammation test is goes one step further. It looks at the same IgG response, but also this thing called complement protein C3D. When those are present together, it's actually the body creating an inflammatory reaction. So now there's an immune response, but also an inflammatory reaction, and it's between 10 and 1,000-fold greater with this complement protein. So instead of giving you like, hey, coach, here's 20 foods you can't eat, 30 foods you can't eat because you reacted, we actually give you a 1 through 5. And it's of not just what you reacted to on the immune response, but also the inflammation. And so it's going to be 5 to 10 foods instead of 30, which means now you have low hanging fruit. You can really target the foods that are very likely the biggest culprit and what your body and your immune response is creating that inflammation, because inflammation is the root cause of pretty much all the degenerative disease, the chronic disease that we see has an inflammatory component, and inflammation's really good. When I hurt my knee, the inflammation's there for me to heal. But when I'm chronically inflamed and it's out of control, now my immune system is just reacting at a 99 all day, every day. And then all of a sudden I get sick, I get a cold or I get COVID, and it doesn't have anything left to
Exactly.
fight. So that out of control inflammation is the thing that we're trying to take down and allow the body to do what it does best, which is actually be in homeostasis and function properly. But it can't, because most of the foods we're eating are not healthy for us. Even the healthy foods are sprayed with glyphosate, which, are you familiar with glyphosate? You've probably seen the commercials on it, right? Here's what's crazy. Glyphosate is intended to kill microbiome. It kills all these bugs in the fields. What do you think our stomach
Everything.
is?
The same.
It's the same thing. So now we're killing the
It's
healthy
fine.
things in our stomach, and it's part of the process.
Right.
It's not the only thing, but there's all these different things that our stomach is now fighting, and our stomach is the place where it all fuels from. It's the gut-brain connection. It's where the heart of the immune system is. So if our stomach is out of sync, the rest of our body is out of sync. And we really think that the number one place that we can focus is by healing our gut. And if we can heal our gut, it can
Yes.
give the rest of the body the ability to fight off these different diseases and recover itself from injury, etc. And so that's really where this food inflammation test has been so beneficial to us, because it identifies not just
Huge.
what is, hey, gluten is bad for everybody. Well, gluten's bad for most people, but it's not, it's going to be different for everybody. For me, it was a 5 out of 5.
Right.
I had to cut that out like 6 years ago, and it was a game changer for me.
Mm.
For you, it might not be the
Mm.
same, right?
Mm. That's exactly right. We all have a different response. I think that that inflammation test is something I'm particularly interested in. If anybody's listening to it, you should definitely be interested too. It's as simple as that. Because if you get a test that lets you know what your body is doing, then you take it a step further and you're like, okay, now I can actually plan my
Mm-hmm.
future because I know what my health is going to be like. And instead of having an accumulation of like toxemia, like self toxicity over time, and then all of a sudden developing these chronic things, and won't have that. It'll instead be just a tree of health that constantly grows and branches out into more
Here's what's
optimized
cool
health,
about it,
you know?
right? I knew when I ate pizza, I didn't feel good. Do you think that was enough for me to stop eating pizza? No. But when I
Mm-mm,
got the data back and it said both
mm,
dairy and gluten for me were a 5 out of 5,
for
I'm an
sure.
engineer, I'm a technical guy, so I have the data to work off, and I'm like, damn, I guess I got to quit pizza. But guess what? Once I quit pizza, I didn't know what sick was. I was sick every day. I didn't know that. That was just normal for me. I didn't realize
Right.
what really feeling good meant until I actually got rid of it. Now, do I cheat once every now and then and have pizza? I do, maybe once every couple months. I tell you what, there's a reason I go a few more months before having it again, because I regret it. And I'm like, man, for the next few days, I'm groggy. My stomach doesn't feel great. I'm like, yeah, it tastes really good, but we should be thinking about food as a fuel, and we should be thinking about our
Yeah.
cars as individual things that are unique, not like, hey, everybody needs, 93 octane. No, each car needs a different mixture that's going to be right for it. Once you can figure that out, now that's just the fuel to allow you to do the other things you want to do. It's not like the end all be all is not to go have a great steak dinner. Sure, we all enjoy that every now and then. But, right?
Right.
That's not the way we shouldn't be treating it like that.
No, we have the scale shifted in the wrong direction. And I'll tell you, I have a couple kids that are really good kids that I teach. And one of my guys, Anthony, I'm not going to say his last name because you got to keep things like that. But he's a good kid, right? And he's asking me about things I'm interested in. So we're talking about nutrition. And I said, okay, I'm going to prove to you right now that with the video I show you, and it's a boxing match, that you're going to see a gentleman who's going to fight one of the toughest guys ever to live, who I'll tell you his name in a minute. But this guy all of a sudden has to fight Iron Mike Tyson, Kid Dynamite. And he's a journeyman, James Quick Tillis, the fighting cowboy. No one really knows about Tillis. I mean, he fought early on in the 80s and he was tough, but everyone knew Tyson at this point because he was knocking everybody out. Tillis gets the big payday. So for the first time, he hires a nutritionist. He goes to an allergist. They do tests, and they find out that this man's whole entire diet was basically a 5. He's allergic to almost everything. His immune system was just to the point where he could go like 1, 2 rounds or maybe like an hour, 45 minutes into a workout and just hit a pitfall. And body just completely shut down. Everyone's like, what's happening? You're not training hard. Let's go. All of a sudden they clean up his food. He has a full training camp. His body starts to regenerate, clean itself. He went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson knocked everybody out for a long time. Went into James, who cleaned up his food that he needed to eat, that he did eat, and then he went 10 rounds. Lost the decision, but he still won 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. So this story always absolutely blows my mind because I think about boxing. I don't think anybody's more feared than Mike Tyson. That was always the thing. Like, how much would it be to get you in the ring? No amount of money, right? So, but I always thought that was an amazing story that
We
food's
are what we
medicine, all
eat.
right?
And in our medical
Absolutely.
model,
And
do you
what?
know how much time, physicians spend learning about nutrition in medical school?
Not even a
Not even a
class.
class. And it's not
Maybe.
their fault. I
Maybe.
don't certainly believe I'm not blaming individual physicians. We're so grateful to have them. When it comes to acute care like what you dealt with, thank God you were in the United States of America because it's the greatest acute care in the world. But chronic care, we treat it like acute care.
No.
We're giving the same opioids to
Yeah.
people with chronic pain. That doesn't make any sense, right?
No. Right. I don't really understand it. I remember my grandpa telling me about World War II and there were soldiers taking morphine. And then all of a sudden I asked what the opiate they gave me was, and they said dilaudid. And I'm like, well, how strong is that? And they said about 8 times stronger than morphine. I said, well, let me ask you something here. I just got to remind you that I'm a teacher and I'm not on the battlefield, and I'm trying to figure out rationally why I need something 8 times stronger than someone who is on the battlefield needs. And why down the hallway is somebody taking something 100 times stronger than that? Can any of you explain to me what's going on? Because I know the liver has a shelf life with these chemicals. And surely the liver is something that can't regenerate as quickly as these chemicals are going in. So can you please explain to me what's really going on? I'm ready to listen. It's like one of those
Crazy.
things. So I really like to move like in the direction that you're in with healing and making sure that people know that they have the power in their own hands, and the first thing they have to do is get the data.
Mhm.
They have to get the data. When they see the data, that's the life changer, the game changer, and then the applications can be made, the thoughts followed by the actions, the
Totally.
reactions,
And
looking
one
at
thing
the
I would add to that is I think they need to believe. I have a quote I say all the time: whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Because and the people we deal with, most of them, I do all the customer service. I love her. Like Battle and Barbara is her name. She's kind of our customer persona, but she calls me up and says, Ryan, this isn't going to work. I've tried everything. If I can't get her to shift out of that mindset and get some hope, the reality is it doesn't matter how great the product is. She needs to believe it's
That's right.
possible first. And that's really our first job as a brand, is to give her hope. That's what we're here to do. Whether we can help her with our
That's
products or not, if I can give her hope, I can help her more than any product I can ever give her. Right?
PEP program, positively phrased, emotion provoking, present tense personal statements. I believe I can heal. I will heal. I am healing. I am healed. I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. So many great synergies here. And I can't wait to, continue this relationship. There's so many great things. I got 3 final questions for you while we wrap up the podcast. The first one is, we're about end of the year, so I want you to go to December 31st, 2024, basically a year out from now, and you look back on your last year and you say, holy shit, coach, like I did it. I had an amazing year. What's that look like for you?
Traveling around the world, teaching people the love of basketball, community, holistic health, no up cost, and togetherness. I think that it's a vibe, man, and that's the whole thing with me. And everyone's in this tribe. Like, we're all on the same frequency, man. All we need is something to bring us together. Air is our primary requirement. Let's breathe together and then
I
rock.
love that.
You
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
If you had one, and again, I know there's no one size fits all, but if you had one tip for the average person, someone listening that could really up level their life, what would your advice be to them?
Yep. That's the best one I can give you. You're going to start breathing, get into the most comfortable position possible with nobody bothering you, and somewhere where you can have a timer in front of you. So you're going to start breathing in only through the nose. It's nasal only breathing. It'll be 1 second in, 1 second out, 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out, all the way up to 60 seconds. Yeah.
60
That's
seconds
it.
in. All
Yeah.
right.
Because what happens is instead of a breath like, that's a very fast breath. But like for instance, when you take a 10-second breath, it's a one breath. So that slows everything down dramatically. Life moves fast. We need to slow it down. So that's exactly what it would be. For anybody listening, you will dramatically lower your heart rate, your blood pressure, your mind will be clear, and for a moment, the body, mind, and spirit won't seem separate. It'll come back to the one thing
Challenge
again.
accepted. All right. I'll let you know how I do with my first 60-second breath. 10 seconds is hard. So I'm going to be proud of myself if I get to 60 seconds.
Slow. It's a slow draw. Slow,
And
slow. Yeah.
so the last one for you, where can people find you?
Coach Lemanczyk on IG. Follow me, reach out. I will definitely reach back.
Amazing.
I find it just, it's my life's purpose to help. I'm really grateful.
Well, Coach, thank you so much. I can't wait to see kind of what we can do together. We have a lot of synergies, like I said. This is just the first of many conversations we'll have, and I look forward to getting you some product, getting you a fit test, and seeing how I can help you and your community. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, brother. Ditto. The sky's no limit. Thank you, brother.